Broadcasting live 4 days a week worldwide
from the sunny beaches of Southern California.
This is ExtremeHealthRadio.com.
Hi, this is Bruce Lipton. I'm on Extreme Health Radio with Justin and Kay, and I just want to say that I so appreciate this opportunity because we have a wonderful show ahead of us.
With all the advances in medical technology today, the key to longevity may be as simple as vitamin C. Discover the power of lipospheric vitamin C at extremehealthradio.com/vitamin C. Are you ready to feel younger and healthier? Harness the healing power of the C. Take control of your health and visit extremehealthradio.com/C, SEA, and use the coupon code JUSTIN, JUSTIN, and get 20% off. Discover the secret to eternal youth. Well, Kate, we've had our fair share of technological challenges.
Gosh, the last week, right? It's been nuts.
Our monitor went down, and that's
right before an in-studio guest. That was exciting.
Right. And our web server, we upgraded our web server, so half the population can't see our website anymore.
Oh.
So we're having some challenges over here. It's crazy.
Today we're having soundboard issues. So.
Now soundboard issues. So we hope that the quality of this show is good for you guys.
The information, though, will be life-changing. So, hey, to every challenge, there's always obstacles when good things are awaiting you.
That's right.
We're just going to view it as such.
So this is episode number 302, and we have Alison Adams on, and it's going to be a fun show. We're going to be talking about her dental issues, the fact that she had fibromyalgia and a lot of these chronic fatigue syndromes, all kinds of stuff. And we're going to be talking about Mercury's role in all of that and how that plays a role in our health. So we'll talk about that. We'll introduce her in just a moment. If you guys would like to support our show, you can do so by visiting our link through Amazon. If you guys make back-to-school purchases or holiday purchases for Christmas or anything like that, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/Amazon, and you'll be able to make a purchase there that will help support our work and keep it free for everybody else. And also, make sure to check out our sponsors for this episode, Live On Labs. We're big fans of their vitamin C and their glutathione, as well as the S&C products by Dr. Ron Kusan. Just incredible stuff they have over there. So make sure to check those out. Those are ways to keep the show free. For reference, what's the date today? What do we got?
August 20th,
I don't even know the date.
2014.
I know, right? We broadcast live 4 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific. So if you guys would like to join the show and become a part of the chat room and get your questions answered, that's a great way to do that. extremehealthradio.com/live, and you can ask questions that way every day at 9 a.m. Pacific, except for Tuesday. So make sure to check that out. And today we have Alison Adams, and her website is thenaturalrecoveryplan.com. And Kate, you have been reading her book, and I have to say, with the amount of people that we talk to on a regular basis, which is a lot, and the amount of research that we're exposed to, you've been finally able to put some pieces of the puzzle together, and the switch has been going off in your head about
all
your
I
health.
can say is it's been wild. I wrote Allison an email yesterday just saying, I feel like I had all these pieces to the puzzle, and now I'm finally being able to piece them together. It was frustrating just holding the pieces and not knowing what to do with them, but I'm getting some insight and clarity, and I'm only probably not even halfway into the book, and already I can't stop thinking about it and talking about it and telling you what I'm coming up with. I mean, it's like if I were to have written a book on what I have felt like the past years, this is it. So
I know, it's incredible.
I feel like I just hit the jackpot. It's amazing.
Every few minutes you're telling me, oh my
Well, I can't
goodness.
get over it. It's like she wrote my life in a book, and I'm sure so many other people have had that experience.
I know. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So her book is the Natural Recovery Plan, Chronic Fatigue and Fibromyalgia, and her website, like I said, is thenaturalrecoveryplan.com. So I want to thank you so much, Allison, for being on the show today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, I was reading over your some of your bio, and it was just fascinating. I saw on there that you had 21 surgical operations.
Sadly so.
That is just incredible.
Yeah, the number keeps going up, hard as I try.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Oh my goodness.
And that started at a really young age for you, didn't it?
Yes, quite a lot of those were ear operations, and that started when I was about 10 or 11.
Oh, gosh.
Latterly, I was hit by a motorbike and sustained a broken leg, and there's been various other things recently. So yes, I'm now into a kind of dental surgical phase, unfortunately.
Oh my goodness.
Or fortunately, or electively. So yeah.
So you had, I read on there that you also dealt with earlier in life chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and all kinds of issues, right?
Yeah, I was never well, right from the get-go, really. But you've got nothing to compare it to if you've never experienced health. But I knew I couldn't do the things other people could do. I had digestive problems right from early child, right from the earliest date. Looking back now, I think I might be a celiac, but I don't eat gluten now, and you can't test for it if you haven't been exposed to it for, I haven't intentionally consumed gluten for 15 years or something now. So there's no way of knowing, but that is actually a typical, not to get diagnosed till your 40s or 50s is actually pretty typical of celiac disease.
Oh, is that really?
Yeah, sadly, yeah.
Wow.
So yes, I think looking back, I could never tolerate dairy, I could never tolerate gluten, and that accounted for a lot of my digestive problems as a kid. I also had lots of structural problems. I had lots of physiotherapy and special shoes and braces that I wore at night and cages over the bed, and a lot of that, looking back, was pretty cruel, and I don't think it solved, it didn't address any of the underlying issues. So there was a lot of that. Then, as I say, the ear operation started when I was about 11. Then, and I don't know whether it was puberty or possibly the vaccinations I had around puberty, but that really sent me for a loop. And then I went to dental school, and then it all ramped up. Unfortunately. So yes, my health was never good, but it completely collapsed when I was in my early 40s, and I had to quit dentistry and try and solve the puzzle because, for sure, allopathic medicine couldn't at that stage.
So you started having ear surgeries when you're around 11, you said?
Yeah, I had what's called glue ear. My ear wasn't draining properly. I now think that was, what Kate was saying, I've pieced together bits of the puzzle for me, and I'm still piecing together bits of the puzzle. But partially, and this is true of actually most people in the developed world, our faces don't develop properly due to malnutrition. And my upper jaw didn't descend enough, so it trapped my mandible behind it, and that caused ear problems. The other thing was I was never breastfed, which is really important to developing the face and jaws properly. And also getting the download of colostrum from your mum. I never got any of that. So, I didn't get off to a great start there either.
Isn't there a relationship between the mineralization of the mother during the time that the baby is developing and the facial structure and things?
The baby is made from the tissues of the mother, basically, and what she consumes. It's so important that the mother is well nourished going into pregnancy and during pregnancy. And I'm sure somebody on one of your shows must have mentioned the work of Weston Price, but he was a dentist researcher best part of 100 years ago who went around a lot of native peoples worldwide. And all of the native peoples understood how important it was for the mother to be nourished before, during and after pregnancy. And the people in the tribes would give their best food to any mother who was, pregnant or nursing. It's so important because that's the future of your people, of your line, that time. And of course, most of us are malnourished. So most women going into pregnancy are malnourished. And if you've had several children and perhaps not very big gaps between and breastfed, you get really depleted.
Yeah, women don't have that going for them, do they?
Yeah, I can imagine that. That's why there's so many issues with kids. You see the leukemia with little babies and little kids and all kinds of health issues. And it starts at a really young age, colic and all this stuff.
Well, then thrown in with a bunch of vaccinations on top of it. It's a chemical soup waiting to perfect storm.
I mean, I think the childhood cancers are probably to do with partially probably, inadequate nutrition, but a lot of that is to do with the mother passing her toxin burden to the baby. And about 1/3 to 2/3 of the toxins that have accumulated in the mother will be passed to the baby in the womb and the breast milk. So it depends on your place in the family as well as to how big a burden you get. In my particular case, for instance, my mother had my older brother when she was about 30. She then had me when she was about 40, and then I've got a younger sister who she had when she was about 42. But my mother had 10 years to accumulate toxins in her 30s. I don't know, but I'm guessing she had some dental work done during those years, So unlike my sister, for instance, who may have been spared some of it because she was born 2 years after me. So I possibly depleted a lot of the toxins, and my mother didn't have a big opportunity to build up a toxin load before having my sister.
Yeah, wow,
that makes sense.
Is there anything to do with the birth order of children too? Do you think that has anything to do with anything?
Like the stresses you carry?
Yeah, for sure. Eldest boys are 4 times more likely to get autism because it's thought to be an interaction between the mercury and the testosterone in the baby. So that's much more likely. And yet, with adults, women are 9 times more likely to be autoimmune if they're actually mercury poisoned. So I don't think we've worked out all of the details there, but for sure it affects babies.
That's amazing. So when a mother is pregnant and she's pregnant, she's humming along, going okay, but she has mercury fillings. Somehow those mercury fillings, and she's eating food or she's drinking a hot coffee, some atoms come off of that and eventually affect the fetus.
It's partially that, but a lot of it is that your body acts as a store for mercury. It really can't excrete, most people can't excrete mercury terribly well at all. And it gets very attracted to the nervous system, to the endocrine glands. It gets bound to the mitochondria in the cells, and it gets stored throughout the entire body, fat, brain, everything. And when you're making a baby and you're cannibalizing basically the mother's tissues, because today we're making eyes, and it's got to make eyes, whatever is available. A lot of the mercury, there is no placental barrier to mercury, unfortunately, and it accumulates in the child because they have a different kind of hemoglobin. So that, and then the breast milk is very fatty as well, and the mercury is fat soluble, so it accumulates in the breast milk too. So when the baby's born, so most of it is the store that the mother has already accumulated prior to pregnancy.
Isn't that crazy?
I have to say, in the UK now, the advice is that pregnant mothers shouldn't have amalgam fillings done, and having any kind of amalgam fillings removed or placed during pregnancy is a disaster, really, because it goes straight into the developing baby.
But
so I
what
would
people don't
strongly
seem to
counsel
know,
against that.
But what people don't seem to know is that this stuff outgasses and off-gasses, all during the day and night when you're eating and chewing things, right?
Yep, it does. Yeah. So I'm sure your audience are probably up to speed on this, but amalgam fillings are half liquid mercury and half powdered metals. And they are mixed up together, placed in the cavity. They set pretty quickly, or at least appear to, but actually it never becomes a proper solid. And what happens is you end up with these metal particulates in a kind of thick soup of mercury. You get what's called creep, which is where the filling actually spreads over the side of the cavity, and then little bits chip off, and then it starts to leak. And this is symptomatic of the fact that it's not set. It's not a real, true solid. And so what happens is that the different metals in the filling react with one another galvanically, and they cause mercury to vaporize, because it does that very readily. Mercury is the only metal that is a liquid and vaporizes readily at room temperature and pressure.
Wow.
So yes, it vaporizes. You put it in the larger context of a mouth with gold crowns and, orthodontic wires and chrome cobalt dentures or whatever. and that creates this kind of electromagnetic soup that causes it to vaporize as well. As you say, chewing, grinding, coffee, your hot drinks, making calls on your cell phone, being in an EMF, in an electromagnetic field, all cause further mercury release.
Have you found?
So yeah, go on.
Oh, have you found a lot of issues with the EMF? I know a lot of people talk about this, where people might have baby monitors, or now they have those video baby monitors connected to your iPhone. Have you found any in your practice, people talking about the EMF and baby laying in their cribs and being exposed to this kind of stuff?
Well, cot deaths and things are still a mystery, aren't they? And we don't know, but I think Wi-Fi is a disaster, really. It opens what are called the voltage-gated calcium channels in the cells, allowing calcium to flood into the cells, and that's how it's thought to do most of the damage that it does. It's not actually the heating effect, which is what the industry focuses on.
So what is the calcium doing in the cell? So it gets in there and then it calcifies the cell?
Well, you've got all of your cell membranes are very carefully, the brilliance, the intelligence of the cell is really in the cell membrane. I noticed in the intro you had Bruce Lipton, and this is his, some of his work. But the intelligence really isn't held in the nucleus as we used to believe. It's held in the cell membrane, and the cell membrane has tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands, or even millions of receptors in it. And channels, and it very carefully regulates what goes on within the cell. So there are pumps pumping calcium out of the cell, for instance, because it's destructive of cell function. And what happens when you're exposed to EMF is that those pumps break down, the channels open up, the calcium floods in a way that's unregulated, and that can account for a lot of the effects of EMF.
That's wild. That's wild. We had David Wolf on the show a couple times, and he's done a lot of work with calcium in terms of relating or correlating, I should say, calcium to just about every known disease. And even Dr. William Wong was on our show, and he said the same thing, where our organs begin to shrink as we get older, and that's all calcium.
Yeah, I'm reading Thomas Levy's book, Death by Calcium, at the moment, but he makes a very strong case for calcium, supplemental calcium, or excessive intake of calcium being very bad for you, and it doesn't get stored in the bones and the teeth as you would hope. It gets stored in the soft tissues, where it does no good at all. Yeah,
it's fascinating. A fascinating subject, because all growing up, I know we were always told, take your calcium, take your calcium, and then we see all the adults taking their calcium.
I know. When I had the accident I referred to, I was on an orthopedic ward with a lot of old ladies who'd had broken hips, often for the second or third time or something like that. And, they were all given calcium supplements. They all absolutely hated them because it was like chewing chalk.
Yeah.
And, I don't think it's got anything really to do. It's just a very simplistic thing to think it's a calcium deficiency, so you need calcium. The part of Weston Price's work was to look at what he called activator X, which we now know as vitamin K2, which actually escorts calcium into the hard tissues and prevents it accumulating in the soft tissues. And that's what is believed to be associated with, the prevention of osteoporosis and tooth decay and all the rest of it. It's not the actual amount of calcium in the system.
We had a guest on. Who was that spoke about the K2?
Would that be the French naturopathic, French-Canadian lady?
Yeah.
Rome Bleu?
Yeah,
yes,
that's who it was, yeah. She talked about that a lot.
Because a lot of people had no idea.
Yeah, she's wonderful, yes, very good.
Wow,
work.
Yeah, she talked about how the K2, like you just said, it takes away the calcium like inside your arteries and places where it doesn't need to be, and then it transports it to the places in your body that actually can use the right kind. And so there's a lot of K2 also, isn't there, in like grass-fed ghee or butter and things?
Yeah, animal fats in general, basically. She says that a 1-inch square of Gouda each day will serve, to fulfill your requirements. But yeah, butter, yellow butters, the yellower the better, grass-fed milk, eggs, just animal fats in general, really. But the yellower ones are the better, the yellower cheeses.
And it makes sense because these are all these healthy fats that what you were talking about earlier, that would they go to and strengthen up and help to keep the cell membranes happy?
Yeah, I mean, your brain, the dry, if you take the water out of your brain, it's something like 70% fat, and especially, if you're building a baby, you need a lot of fat. You need to make all the neurons and, cell membranes and what have you.
Yeah.
It's all just nonsense, this thing about fat that we've been told. Just wrong.
Yeah. It's, so with your health crises you've had throughout your life, you've really come through and come out the other end, and you've made a lot of discoveries, in which are documented in your book that Kate's been reading. What are some of the biggest discoveries you made for your own health that have helped you?
Well, I realized that mercury toxicity hadn't just affected me as a dentist, but affected everybody, and that toxic metals were a huge issue, going largely unrecognized, not only by allopathic medicine, but by naturopathic medicine too. Mm-hmm. Your whole biography plays into your health, really. I would encourage people to draw up a timeline, and then writing what they can remember about when they had, operations or traumas or stresses or dental work done, whatever, because it all plays into your health deteriorating. Sometimes it's obvious, these exposures. You were exposed to a spill. I know I was exposed to a mercury spill in my job, but I had no idea how serious that was at the time. But a lot of the time it goes, it's unremarkable at the time, and it's only in hindsight you might realize the importance. I don't know. Childhood's desperately important in all sorts of ways to your development, to your proper development, and also emotionally. That time up to the age of about 7, traumas that happen then, they go deep and they last unless you really do a lot of work on clearing them. The theory being that you're detoxifying all the time, but when you are stressed or traumatized, you are faced with, as far as your body is concerned, a life-threatening situation. So it closes down detoxification and deals with, whatever the trauma is. And that's when toxins can really be stored in the body in a big way. So that childhood trauma is actually related to disease, 30, 40 years on, very clearly. There's a very clear connection.
Yeah, we've been learning a lot about that, about clearing those emotional traumas and things like that in the children. We're going to take a little bit of a break right now. This is really interesting stuff. I want to know, maybe after the break, you can let us know where, most people understand that we're getting mercury from the fillings and things like that, but
and the fish.
And the fish, yeah. But we're curious, where else are people exposed to these heavy metals? Not just mercury, but
and maybe what's a good, I know you go through this in your book, but maybe what's a good test that people can kind of take to know if they have high mercury level.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is going to be good stuff. This is episode 302, and we're with Alison Adams, and her website, if you guys are interested in checking that out, is thenaturalrecoveryplan.com, and you can read all about her book and her detoxification protocols and all kinds of things. She's got a free ebook that's really cool. It looks like the top 10 tips for recovery, and a natural recovery plan newsletter as well. So really awesome information from Alison Adams. Like I said, this is episode 302, and we'll be right back right after this break. Are you living in the 21st century taking 19th century supplements? Vitamin C pills and powders are often destroyed in the digestive system and passed as waste, never reaching your depleted cells. Lipospheric vitamin C uses a patented encapsulation technology to deliver more without the stomach distress caused by pills and powders. Within minutes, liposomes filled with vitamin C are transported directly into your cells without binders, fillers, sugar, or GMOs. With all the modern advances of medicine and technology, are you throwing away money every morning on inefficient supplements? For under $1 a day, you could experience the power of lipospheric vitamin C. For a real eye-opener, visit extremhealthradio.com/vitamin C. Feel younger and feel healthier. Harness the power of the C through Essence C, delivering you whole body wellness. Essence C supplements are specifically formulated using active C-based minerals at levels that correspond directly to the nutritional makeup of the human body. The unique and original Essence C product line is enhanced by the legendary Dr. Ron Kusan's proprietary processing technology, increasing the efficiency and speed of nutrient delivery into our system. Achieve optimal hydration and mineral balance, decalcify the body to provide rapid relief from chronic diseases and ailments like inflammation and digestive dysfunctions. Essence C is a life-restoring solution to ensure optimal health and wellness. Visit extremhealthradio.com/C, SEA today, and discover the secret to eternal youth. If you enter the coupon code JUSTIN, JUSTIN, you'll get a 20% discount on all orders for a limited time. So why wait to be well? Go to extremhealthradio.com/C.
100% listener supported. Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Don't forget to join our thriving community for health tips, inspiration, and show updates at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook.
Well, Kate, as my mom says, we'll get to the bottom of this by hook or by crook.
So very Aussie of her.
I know, right?
By hook or by crook, we'll figure out our soundboard problems.
That's right, by hook or by crook. We'll figure it out. So, this is episode 302. We broadcast live 4 days a week at extremehealthradio.com/live if you guys would like to join our show at 9 a.m. Pacific. I just want to let you guys know about our upcoming show schedule. Tomorrow we have Richard Ostro. We'll be talking about different and unique ways of enhancing our immune system. Then on Friday we have our Free For All Friday show, as always, at 9 a.m. And then we have Mark Sisson from, what is it, the Daily Apple, or marksdailyapple.com. And then Victoria Batenko next week. So that'll be fun, huh?
Nice.
We'll go from primal to green smoothies.
And let everyone make up their own mind for what their own body needs.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So make sure to stay up to date. If you guys would like to stay up to date with our shows, also sign up to our newsletter list and you'll get weekly recaps as well as a free ebook that talks about all kinds of really great detoxification strategies called Lessons from the Miracle Doctors, and you'll get that for free. So make sure to check that out if you're interested in staying up to date with everything we have going on. And also don't forget to visit our sponsors for this episode, Live On Labs, the lipospheric vitamin C, and the Essence C products. They are just changing our life. We just are such big fans of them. So make sure to check those out. And Allison, I wanted to ask you, we kind of briefly mentioned it during or before the break, but where the heck are people getting all of these heavy metals aside from the obvious places?
Right. Well, mercury is released naturally into the environment by volcanoes, and there's a few tons of that each year. But a lot of that comes from coal-fired power stations, crematoria, chlor-alkali industry, production of steel and things like that. 70% of the mercury in the environment is meant to be man-made, and dentistry is responsible for about 10% of that.
Wow.
40 years ago, the World Health Organization said that toxic metals, heavy metals, were a major source of world disease, but nothing much has happened since then, really. You get them in all kinds of things. They're in contaminants in the soil, in the water. Mercury, in particular, bioaccumulates up the food chain, so that mercury in the waterways, inorganic or elemental mercury, gets converted by plankton or bacteria and then eaten by little fish. And then the big fish eat, middle-sized fish eat the little fish, and the big fish eat the medium-sized fish. And at the top of the food chain, those animals live longer. They bioaccumulate the mercury, so that all animals at the top of the food chain, of which we are one, but alligators are another, sharks, polar bears, whatever. They're all faced with a major issue to do with bioaccumulation of mercury. Some people get metals occupationally as well, welders or car workers or whatever. And, the first thing, and I know Kate knows this, but, if you get sick, is just reflect back on your job and what exposures you've had to toxins, because doctors don't do that, it's so fundamental, but they don't. If you worked in a dry cleaners for 10 years, then chances are, you were exposed to the dry cleaning agents and that they're an issue. So yes, think about environmental causes.
Well, I have to say, Allison, I was shocked in your book about, I was skipping around at the beginning and looking at some stuff you had to say about the number of beauty products that women put on their faces and daily. It's in like 200 or some odd chemicals that people are just getting exposed to, just the stay-at-home mom, probably.
Well, what they say is you're exposed to 200 chemicals before you can leave the house in the morning, between the carpet treatments and the flame retardants and the shaving foam and the toothpaste and the stuff in the food you eat, in the morning or what have you. So it's just, we're exposed every which way and nobody's really looking out for us. I was bamboozled by this for a while as well, and I used products I thought were healthy. And it's only when you kind of hang on a minute, let me look at the ingredients, and you're like, oh, because a lot of these things they're made of sodium lauryl sulfate or whatever, and then plus 1% organic lavender, and it's having big letters on the front of the packet, organic, or shampoo containing organic, whatever. But it doesn't tell you that the other 99% toxic.
Right.
So yeah, you really have to look out for yourself and get smart and look at labels. And
what's funny too is I think about this all the time with people that live in cities or suburban areas and big trucks drive by that have, or maybe just a car, that's not really well fixed up, so that all the smog's coming out. When you breathe that stuff, there's got to be heavy metals in that, right?
Oh, yeah. I was just doing an article, but apparently when they changed from leaded gasoline, as you'd call it, or would call it petrol, they added manganese, which is just as bad, in different ways. So, yeah, what can I say? It's a problem every way you turn, really. So you just have to try and control your exposure to it as much as you can, and then you need to be proactively detoxing. Every day of your life.
What Dr. Hal Huggins, I've heard him say before, he's kind of the guy that most people consider to be the father of this whole mercury movement back in the 70s. And he said that, 1 atom of mercury is too much, which is pretty amazing.
Yes, there is no safe lower limit. I mean, I think what happens is people grossly underestimate how noxious this stuff is. It's the second most deadly substance on Earth. It's the third most toxic substance on Earth, and that's in its elemental form. When it gets transformed into its organic form, which is the form I was talking about accumulating in fish and in humans and sharks and what have you, it becomes at least 100 times more toxic and possibly 1,000 times more toxic, according to some people. So you're talking about the most toxic substance on the planet, way worse than sarin or any of these other awful things, and yet we have daily exposure to it, and we have implanted, just centimeters from our brain, we have a time release mercury device. Or many time release mercury devices.
I know, right? It's just it's amazing. Oh, go ahead.
Well, go ahead, Jay.
No.
Here's a question. I'm curious. I haven't made it all the way through the book yet, but if people were to follow these protocols and, have this hope like I do that you can get a lot of this stuff out, is it ever possible to be mercury free, or is that just a silly question?
I think not. I think you're probably never going to get it out of every nook and cranny and every place it's hiding, but I think you can probably, reduce your body burden to the point where it's not problematic and your body can deal with any exposures or stores, but I don't know if you ever get rid of it all. No, no, I wouldn't like to promise you that.
Yeah, because that would be almost impossible.
But someone in your case, like with being exposed to a mercury spill or something, because I had my amalgams taken out before I knew any better, thinking they were better to have out of my mouth in a wrong way where, there wasn't the protective things going on. And, on my timeline, I look back and that's when a myriad of my health problems started happening when I count back those 10, 12 years ago. And, so is it possible, like in your case, do you feel like you've gotten to a point, obviously, where you're a lot more healed up and able to deal with the giant spills that people have and are exposed to?
Well, I think I acquired a massive dose from my mother.
Oh, do you?
At birth. And then I had, vaccinations back in the day when they were adding thimerosal to practically all of them. So I got a nice loading dose there. Then I had fillings that started when I was about 6, but most of those were done all in one go in my late teens when I went to dental school. And then, of course, I had 25 years occupational exposure as a student and as a dentist. I actually lived in my dental practice for 7 years as well, so I was exposed to mercury vapor there 24/7, looking back, And then in amongst all of that, there was a mercury spill as well. So, do I think, what's interesting is, did you go back to your dentist and say, I think, I've been unwell since you took my fillings out?
No, you know what, I haven't. And it was hard.
No, you see, because nobody does. And the dentists aren't aware. They don't think there's a problem. But I can see that there is a problem from, my observations.
Clear. Yeah, it's pretty clear that there's definitely a problem. And, like Hal Huggins was saying before, as long as you have more going out than what's coming in, that's the name of the game, which makes sense. But like you were saying, it's difficult for the body to release this kind of this mercury. So detoxification isn't as simple as it may seem. You actually have to focus on your organs and get all your organs working properly first, right?
Yeah. I love Hal Huggins, and I think he's, a tremendous man, and he's done a great deal. But I have to differ with him slightly on the more going out than coming in, because, I could take you 100 years to clear the stuff at that rate.
Right?
You need to get it out as quickly as you can without really suffering too badly. And that's quite a fine tightrope to walk. And your body will definitely tell you once you're exceeding excretion capacity.
Yeah.
You need to do a detox kind of aimed at heavy and toxic metals and pulling them out. This stuff, it's accumulated down the generations. We've been using it for over 180 years now. It's been passed from mother to child. It can stay in your system a whole lifetime and not be excreted. It will mess up your kidneys. It reduces kidney function by 50% within a month of having one filling done, your first filling done.
Oh.
So you're effectively managing with one kidney after you've had one amalgam filling. Once it can't get out that route, then, it starts to accumulate in the liver, mess up all the detoxification processes there as well, get stored in fat in the brain, what have you. So yes, you need to, in fact, having your amalgam fillings out isn't often the first thing you should do. What you should do is create some capacity in the system, detox a bit, get your liver and kidneys working, and then look at getting your fillings removed by a biological dentist who will safeguard your health as much as it can be, during the process. But see, dentists don't realize, and they don't realize that they're the ones, them and their chairside staff are the ones who are most at risk. It's a tragedy, but dentist health is terrible, really terrible.
Yeah, we had Dr. Stuart Nunley, our biological dentist, that we go visit a couple times a year now, hopefully, in Texas, and he took Justin's amalgams out, the right way, the correct way, but he himself had I'm sure you've heard it from 1,000 million dentists where, everybody was so exposed to these things, and he was overexposed, and he ended up in a wheelchair, suffering from, what was it like?
They thought it was ALS.
ALS.
Yeah.
And he completely he went and saw Hal Huggins, I believe, and reversed him. Now he's practicing biological dentistry instead of the typical run-of-the-mill dentistry. And his story is just amazing. I'm sure you've heard quite a bit of that with dentists who kind of wake up, I'm sure, right?
Well, most biological dentists have a story of mercury poisoning. Mm-hmm. That is what it has taken to bring them to this understanding,
Sure.
And to be honest, I mean, at first I got the thing about mercury, but then as my investigations went on and I discovered, the dangers posed by all the other toxic metals we use in dentistry, by the dangers of cavitations, by the dangers of root canals, all the rest of it, it's quite a lot to take on. And also, the fact that you've never been taught any of this stuff.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, the idea that this can happen as a result, diseases can happen as a result of, an amalgam filling or some sort of root canal seems crazy, but we talked to Dr. Bob Dowling, and he has this radio ablation therapy that he uses down in Ecuador, and he does these these sophisticated heat scans, and he can see lines. It's really fascinating if you look at it. He can see lines that go from the actual tooth, the infected cavitation, or the root canal, that will go directly to, like, if someone has breast cancer or something, they'll see a line in the x-ray going from the tooth to the breast or something. It's just fascinating.
Well, I know this is very confronting for people, and I've been trying, because I had several root fill teeth myself, which I'm in the process of getting out, but I was looking at ways that people could assess, because you need to know where to start as well when you're faced by all this. Do you start with getting your amalgams out? Do you start with getting your root fill teeth out? Where do you go? And the answer is find a good biological dentist and then take their advice, really. But I did have a thermogram done. I don't know if that's quite the same thing that you're talking about, and I didn't find that terribly helpful in identifying inflammation. What I have recently done, and I've yet to write an article about it, but I had the holograms in my live blood looked at by Harvey Biggleson's son, actually. And that very clearly pinpointed a tooth that was a very big problem. And I also saw somebody who does Vega, biomeridian testing, and he also correctly identified the order that the teeth should come out in and which were the biggest issues. So all of that's really helpful for people to know what's most stressing their system and where to start, because this costs a lot of money apart from anything else, and right? It takes a lot of time, and you're going to Texas, that's not cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
I go to the north of England, but it means staying in a hotel and, my husband taking time off and everything. It's, it's a major production.
Yeah, it's amazing. What, I want to ask you, I want to take a little bit of a break, but we've had Dr. Beagleson on, and also we had Dr. Lloyd Jenkins on recently from the Budwig Center there in Malaga, Spain, and he was talking about the Vega test, but I just find that to be fascinating. I'm really curious about your results with the blood work with Harvey Bigleson, because when we had him on, we just were fascinated by him, and he's just a very interesting guy. So maybe we'll talk about that when we come back from the break. This is episode 302, is that correct, Kate?
You're right.
302, and we're with Alison Adams, and her website is thenaturalrecoveryplan.com, and we will be right back right after this break. I have been a huge fan of rebounding for many, many years, and if you want to get in great cardiovascular shape, tone your legs, back, and butt, and stomach, as well as cleanse your lymphatic system from toxins and chemicals, you just have to start rebounding. It's imperative. And not only will it create endorphins that quickly become addictive to you, but it's very low impact as well. It helps to prevent sicknesses and diseases, as well as increase bone density, and it flushes toxins from your lymphatic system. It's amazing. And not only that, but it's a ton of fun also. I do it every single day for about 15 minutes. And we found the best rebounder on the market today in the world, bar none. It's called the Bellicon Rebounder. It's the Rolls Royce of rebounders, in my opinion. And let's listen to some of what our guests have had to say about rebounding. Robert von Sarbacher is a health researcher and creator of the Mini Beat Protocol. And Robert, what's your favorite exercise?
In general, probably one of the number one anti-aging exercises on the planet is rebounding. So 15 minutes a day is good for that. You can find people who have had thermography scans on cancers, giant tumors, and when they're doing a rebounder, it would start spewing out and shrinking right in front of your eyes, the tumor would, as they're on the rebounder. So it's really good for that sort of thing. It's also very good for exercising internal organs. It's the only internal organ exerciser that I know of known to man.
Dr. Lindsay Duncan is the CEO and founder of Genesis Today. And what's the best way that you think of to stimulate the lymphatic system of the body.
Rebounding is incredible because it's good for the lymphatic system, and there's more lymph fluid in the body than there is blood. And the quickest way and the most effective way to get the lymphatic system flowing is through rebounding itself.
Yeah, because the lymphatic system can't really detox itself, can it? I think you
No, the heart, we have the heart, thank you, for pumping blood. And we don't have a heart to pump lymphatic fluid. The only thing that really can pump lymphatic fluid is cardiovascular exercise utilizing the thighs, the thigh muscles. And that's why rebounding and getting a burn in that thigh muscle is so important for the flow and the stimulation of the lymphatic fluid.
Wow, and they even put cancer patients on rebounding, don't they?
Nutritionists do.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but not a conventional doctor. But yeah, I've been learning about rebounding lately. It's quite an amazing thing.
Yeah, rebounding's amazing.
Health researcher and author of Cancer Step Outside the Box, Ty Bollinger. What do you do in your life to prevent cancer?
What do you do to treat cancer? What do you do to prevent it? Rebounding is something that I try to do on a daily basis. A little mini trampoline for those people that aren't familiar with the term rebounding, but it's basically just jumping up and down on that little mini tramp. What that does is it stimulates the lymphatic system. Lymphatic system is one of our primary detoxification systems in our body. And most folks don't stimulate their lymph flow, and so the toxicity in their body builds up because their lymph is not stimulated. And the up-down motion on a rebounder stimulates the lymph flow better than just about any other exercise. So I do that almost on a daily, probably 5 days a week. I would say I average doing that.
And finally, author and speaker and creator of the Longevity Now program, David Wolf. Do you think the Bellicon is the best rebounder on the market today?
Absolutely. I was just with the crew in Europe that does the Bellicon rebounder, which is an incredible rebounder. My God, what a machine. And it doesn't use metal springs. It uses like flexi ropes. So it's very soft and fun, and it's just great to play with.
Well, there you have it. The up and down G-force actually stimulates every single cell in your body. It's incredible. And as someone who works out in the gym a lot and does Qigong, I think that the best physical aerobic exercise, in my opinion, is rebounding. It's just absolutely incredible for the human body. And the Bellicon is silent, and it comes with a warranty, and you can get them in several different sizes and colors, and some of them have bars that you can hold on to in case you're worried about balance. It's a well worth it investment in your health and in your future. So check them out in our store if you'd like, or you can check out the videos on extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. Again, that's extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. That's B as in boy, ELLICON.
All free shows, all the time, on Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join our community today. Sign up to our email list and instantly get our free gift to you, along with loads of inspirational content and cutting-edge tips to help change your life at extremehealthradio.com/subscribe.
Yeah, hey Kate, you know, I was just thinking about during the break is that our dentist that we go to, Dr. Stuart Nunley, who is the most amazing dentist, biological dentist we've ever seen. We just love him, but he overcame his suspected ALS. I'm not sure if he was clinically diagnosed, but they were all thinking it was that. It was the high-dose vitamin C and the sauna that he used as the main part of his protocol.
Yep, sweating and high flight, and getting his amalgams out of his mouth. All that.
Fascinating, huh?
Fascinating.
It's amazing. I wonder, you know how we were talking about the other day in the kitchen, how there's so many biological transmutations that happen in the body and all these processes. It's amazing to me that we even know as much as we do, but I suspect there's so much going on in the human body that mercury probably affects or is at least correlated to diseases and not feeling well in so many different ways we don't even know yet,
all
right?
these, quote, mystery diseases, too, that Allison covers in her book. People, you know, that's kind of what I had going on. I still have going on where it's like you don't quite know what's going on with you, but you know you're not normal and you know you're not right, and it progressively gets gets you so down that you're desperate to try anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's probably linked to more than we could ever even imagine.
It's amazing. So, Allison, did your blood test with Dr. Beagleson's son, did that show mercury, or did that show other potential disease processes that could have resulted from the mercury?
Well, it shows the immediate stressors on the body. I first saw Dr. Biggleson interviewed, and at the time I had trained in kinesiology, so I was, familiar with the whole energy medicine concept. I was on board with that. Mm-hmm. But watching this interview just blew me away. I didn't know what I was looking at. I couldn't make sense of it. It's, extraordinary. And you have to go to another level to be able to explain what he's seeing there. But they just take a drop of your live blood, they put it under dark field microscopy, and they can see holograms in the blood of the biggest stressors on your system. In my particular case, there was a tooth, an upper molar tooth adjacent to the sinus that was infected, a root-filled tooth. That's now gone. I have a twisted spinal cord, which may be what was wrong all along when I was a child. I was actually strangled by the umbilical cord when I was born, and they thought that was what caused that, and that can be put right, because the umbilical cord it's attached to the diaphragm, and that wrenches the diaphragm, and that there's some technique that could be done. And the other thing was a broken coccyx, which I sustained in the accident I mentioned. And then there was some emotion bubble, which I think was to do with my computer collapsing that morning when I went and had the test. But yeah, and I'm going to hopefully meet with them again when they're back in the country within the next month or so. And then I'll see, what comes up next time. But it's a very simple, very easy thing to do. And I know he takes samples through the post. I think as long as he gets them within 3 or 4 days, he can still work with them. So that was, useful because, and so was the biomeridian testing too.
Yeah, it was really fascinating. When he was on our show, he talked about how people that can get their blood tested, like there's one story he shared where this lady it was tested, and there's some sort of hologram that showed in her blood that showed that she had a broken arm or broken hip or something. And she came back to him and he explained to her what he saw, and she said, well, I don't have a broken arm, broken hip or anything like that. And then about a week later or something, she ends up falling.
Slipped on the ice, and sure enough, it was a feature foretelling of what was going to happen.
Yeah, like a palm reader or something.
Well, I saw that was one of the cases I saw that boggled my mind, a similar one, but I think it was an older lady, and it showed as a hip fracture a month before she had the fracture. But they do actually think that the hips it's not that you fall and then break your hip, it's that the hip fractures and then you fall. So the hip may have been fractured, and then she fell a month later. Yeah. Or you've got to look into the whole concept of time being completely wrong. So it is mind-boggling stuff, but amazing and simple.
Amazing. Yeah, Kate, you had a couple of things you wanted to bring up in terms of TMJ or something?
Yeah. I was shocked in the book about you talking about TMJ and jaw problems correlating so much to this fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. Can you explain a little bit about, I'd never heard that was related at all, and I'd had jaw problems my whole life. So had you as well growing up, and how did that look as you started getting more sick?
Yeah, I have. I don't think people really understand the whole topic, and I'll do my best to explain my understanding of it, which isn't extensive.
Great.
I have just had advanced light wire functional appliance therapy. Because my upper jaw neither of my jaws probably grew enough, but my upper jaw didn't descend enough, and it trapped my lower jaw behind it, so it didn't grow properly, and I ended up with what's called a class 3 occlusion, so it was kind of edge to edge. So there was in an ideal occlusion, what you should have is the upper teeth should overlap the bottom teeth a little bit all the way round, and then you should have what's called canine or cuspid guidance, so that when you come out of that middle position where your teeth meet, it's guided on your canines or your cuspids, which are really big, strong teeth with long roots. And then when you come forward, you should be guided on your incisor teeth. If that's not happening, well, in my case, my back teeth weren't being protected, and mercury also makes you clench and grind your teeth. So I've split a lot of my back teeth which is why they ended up needing root filling, not because I had decay or whatever. Anyway, so my dentist, when I went to see my biological dentist, I said, I want to sort these root fill teeth out. And he said, well, I want to do this treatment first. So what he's done is he's expanded my upper jaw. It's just there's a couple of clasps on the upper molar teeth and then a little light wire around the inside. You can't really see it. And that just gently actually bends the bone, expands the upper arch so that the lower jaw can move forward. And then as I'm having all this work done, he's going to kind of completely rebuild my bite. I've been wearing temporaries for the last, year or so to build my bite up to a new height. And this all affects the way your autonomic nervous system functions. Half of your motor cortex of your brain is actually devoted to the temporomandibular joint for reasons that aren't clear. But it very much governs how your autonomic nervous system, which is what governs all the autonomic functions of your body. So respiration, digestion, reproduction, all of those things. I've just recorded an interview, actually, which I'll post in a little while, but it was with a lady who specializes in hair loss. And she particularly looks at mercury and toxic metals and dental causes. But she has a sister in the States who does this therapy. And she was just recounting that when she had it done, she could never go out in the sun without sunglasses. And she left the office and realized she wasn't wearing her sunglasses. So once she'd had the appliance fitted. So for her, it calmed her autonomic system down immediately as soon as she'd had the thing fitted. So as I say, I can't, there are dentists who specialize in this, and I can't give you much more than that really, but that's my understanding of it. But our facial development, our dental development, the development of our brain and the development, the structural impact on our body, it's all really intimately related.
So do you think orthodontic work that most kids, and I know myself, got done, can that be harmful? Are some orthodontists unknowingly structurally messing up your jaw and making things worse? And also, I've always wondered, is it just bad to have metal, obviously, in your mouth all those years? Braces and things?
Yeah. Yes to both.
Okay.
What kind of orthodontics did you have done, Kate? Did you have 2 teeth, four teeth out, and then fixed braces?
You know what? It was so weird with me. They looked on my x-rays. It showed that they pulled the baby teeth that were too slow coming out. It showed that I didn't have any teeth coming in. And so they were making room, like you said, for kind of implants. Well, those came out of nowhere and actually grew in, but they both grew in completely flipped. So the outside of the tooth was on the inside.
Oh,
and
right.
They attempted to spin those, and let me tell you, that was like a 3-year process, and those suckers did not want to go, so they finally let them float back to their original state and kept them that way. And I'm always wondering, what was the right case in something like that, and could that have done damage to me? I don't know.
Yes. Well, the problem is, what orthodontists do is they look at the jaws and see crowding. So what they do typically is they take 2 teeth out, 1 in each jaw, one per quadrant, and then move the front teeth back into the space they've created, right? Now, the problem is that the initial issue was that the jaws weren't big enough to start with. And what they've done, that the soft tissues all grow to their intended size. So what happens is that you're actually pushing the tongue back into the pharynx, into the airway. And this has a huge effect on brain function, on body function, on things like bedwetting, bizarrely.
Really?
And, things like later in life, sleep apnea, as the tissues get, more lax as you get older, perhaps as you've had alcohol or, you put on weight or whatever. And this is really a huge problem. So that's one issue, is that they're shrinking the jaws, which is the wrong thing to do. The other is, yes, if you've got fixed braces, then you've got metals, and they're probably reacting with whatever other metals you've got in your mouth. There's nickel in orthodontic braces, and that's highly carcinogenic, and a lot of women, about 10% of women are allergic to nickel. So that's another issue. The other issue is that if you're taking teeth out, in your case, if it was baby teeth and they were kind of about to come out, may not be so much of an issue. But in taking it out, usually bicuspids or premolars, you are forming cavitations, and that happens about a third of the time, which is less than with other extractions because it's usually being done in adolescence. The child is still growing. You're moving a tooth into the area. But the point is that the extraction site, unless it's properly extracted by a biological dentist and the periodontal membrane is removed, it never heals properly, and then you end up with this cavity in the bone, an area of osteonecrosis and osteomyelitis, and that can be a problem for your entire life unless it's properly identified and treated.
So that's what a cavitation is for people that don't know, right? It's when a tooth is extracted and then the gums grow over the extraction site, and since there's no white blood cells or nerve endings there, the body can't send any white blood cells there. So, like you said, a necrosis starts to happening, and the bone essentially starts to rot. Is that right?
Well, what you've got is the teeth and the jaw bones all develop as a piece, as the dentoalveolar complex, as it's called. And the circulation to the tooth is very intimately connected with that of the periodontal membrane. Mm-hmm. So when you take the tooth out, you are actually severing some of the blood supply to the periodontal membrane, for starters. So that becomes necrotic. And you've also got a dense layer of bone around the tooth suspended in, all the fibers of the periodontal membrane are suspended in. So that's another barrier. What we're taught in dental school is, you check that there's a blood clot, you give the patient instructions and everything. Mm-hmm. And, at least they appear to heal. There are no overt signs usually that there's a problem. But what happens is that the cells that are supposed to organize the blood clot can't get into the blood clot because of the periodontal membrane and the condensed bone. And so the blood clot breaks down. It never heals or organizes or forms bone. As you say, there's no circulation to the area, so you get, necrosis. It becomes a bit like a Keystone Cops thing on the immune front. Those cells come to the area, but then they morph in, become morphonuclear, and, it's just the whole thing kind of feeds on itself. And these cavitations can actually, simmer away and grow to be really quite large and undermine, adjacent teeth and things, and yet still not really be visible on X-ray or be obvious. No fever, no swelling, no redness, no, definite indication that that's a problem. And I've had two of my root-filled teeth out. The first one had a big cavitation attached to it, which we weren't quite expecting, but it does also happen with, root-filled teeth as well. And it happens in other places in the body as well, not just the jaw bones, but it can happen in the hips and things. So anywhere there's, a little bit of trauma, bone just doesn't heal very well, full stop.
Go ahead.
In regards to the TMJ and things that I still experience, and I'm sure a boatload of other people do in the world, what can we do about that?
Well, you need to find yourself somebody who does advanced light wire functional appliance therapy, ALF it's called. Okay. Or find a functional jaw orthopedist. It's quite a kind of specialist thing. I mean, ideally, you're looking for a dentist who's got biological sensitivities, if they're not actually a biological dentist themselves, because you might need to have your occlusion built up to accommodate a new occlusal height. Uh-huh. I mentioned, I think, in my email to you, but I'm writing an article about Robin Williams, and a lot of the things he suffered from could be attributed to mercury toxicity, the Parkinsonism, the depression, the suicide, a lot of that could be laid at the door of mercury. But also, his face never developed properly, and he was definitely overclosed, and there may have been issues structurally to do with not getting enough air in his airways and things like that as well. So,
So all of these things affect how we feel and our depression levels, our hormone levels, don't they? I mean, it's just sort of this whole, biological machine that all works together, doesn't it? Through all these symbiotic situations. It's amazing.
I mean, everything affects everything, and in individual ways. That's the other thing. When I had that infected tooth out, I had terrible vertigo afterwards. Now, I don't know why. I don't know if it was infection from the cavitation going to my ears. I don't know if it was some structural thing, some meridian thing. Still can't quite work it out. But it won't have that effect on other people. It'll do something else. But we're all exquisitely beautifully designed. You're designed to survive. Your body is always doing the most intelligent thing it can at any given moment, because it's fully aware of all the circumstances that you're not. I mean, this was my big, aha moment, was just to stop following what the doctors were doing, because they were just suppressing. I had suppressed symptoms in me for 40 years, and to allow and to support my body's own healing mechanisms. And, it's been a long journey, but I can honestly say now that I really, really feel that I'm fully coming out of the woods now, and that I'm feeling better than I felt in 40 years. Easy.
That's so
wow.
amazing. Have you noticed that as you begin to detox and get this mercury and heavy metal and things like that out, have you noticed in your own life your ability to have an open mind and to think of your body as the way it's going to heal instead of going to a doctor, and just expanding your awareness? Have you noticed that?
Well, what you will notice, first of all, that when you're detoxing mercury, when you're mobilizing it and detoxing it, you're going to feel fairly horrible because you're bringing it out of storage constantly and excreting it. So, don't expect to take some supplements and feel better. That's not going to be what happens, not immediately anyway. What also happens is that a lot of feelings have got buried with the mercury, and that they will come up as well as, and with any other toxin, and they will come up as you're detoxing them. I felt quite tearful without knowing why, and I don't know whether that was releasing old hurts or whether it's actually a biochemical effect of the mercury itself. It's a confusing, weird time to go through the whole thing. It's very trying. It'll be the hardest thing you probably ever do in your life. But I think I mentioned in my email, several of my classmates who were at dental school have now died.
Yeah.
2 women of cancer in their 40s, leaving young children. One of suicide. One's had a stroke. You don't want any of this. I didn't want any of this. I mean, when I really realized that allopathic medicine had no answers for me, I was prepared to move heaven and earth and do everything, for my own sake, because a lot of my female relatives died in their 50s of autoimmune disorders, but also for my husband's sake, because I didn't want him to be married to an invalid. That wasn't fair. That wasn't part of the deal. So, I was willing to do anything and everything. And I think knowing what I know now, I could possibly have done it faster than I did, or more effectively than I did. But the fact that I did it at all, I look at other people who haven't. So,
is the mouth, the teeth, and the jaw, and all of that, is that if someone's having all kinds of health issues and they're kind of running around from doctor to doctor, and the doctor can't explain to them what the heck's going on? This happens all the time, If someone has this stuff going on, would you recommend maybe the first place they would start would be the mouth, you think?
Yeah. If you were an animal and you were sickening, or if you had a sick animal and took it to the vet, the very first thing the vet would do would be look into the animal's mouth. Were any teeth abscessed? Did it have gum disease? Did it have tooth decay? That would be the first thing they would do. But because we've got this crazy system where dentistry, is not allowed to treat below the neck, and doctors aren't really interested and don't know much about the mouth.
Yeah.
Nobody's looking. Nobody's looking for the whole picture. And dentists and others who are able to connect the dots, 90% of disease either originates in the mouth or is made worse by the status of the mouth. So it should be the first place people are looking and considering. It really should. And it's not on practically anybody's radar. And sadly, it's not on any allopathic people's radar, pretty much. But it's not on the alternative world's radar either. They get into their little niches and don't kind of see the bigger picture either.
That's very odd. It's very odd because we've heard that, all disease begins in the colon, and, it seems like, whether it's the colon or the mouth, it seems like between those two organs or areas of the body, if you're focused on those two areas, no matter what your disease is or whatever you've been labeled with, it seems like if you don't heal completely, you're going to make tremendous strides in that area.
Well, it's all part of the same system. It's all the digestive tract.
That's true. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right, because digestion starts in the mouth, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Alison, one quick question for you. I know in your book you go into chelation and things like that. Are you a big fan of chelation via intravenous, or are you more supplementation and things over a slow period of time? And do you think that the IV situation could almost be a danger to some people because it's too fast of a process?
Well, the intravenous chelation that most naturopaths do uses chemicals like DMPS or EDTA or whatever. It also brings the toxins out via the kidneys, and the kidneys have already taken quite a hammering. So I don't personally like that method, although it does appear to work. Okay. I went to see an environmental doctor who actually was a nephrologist originally, and she does intravenous phosphatidylcholine infusions, and that's made out of some kind of soy, and that's a kind of more natural way of doing it. And what that does is it washes the cell membranes. However, I had a lot of sessions quite quickly, and I really, really, really suffered afterwards. I mean, it worked, but had I had any idea how horrendous it was going to be, I wouldn't have done so much so quickly.
Really?
A lot of my detoxing I did with supplements, and, you know, the good news is you can, you know, if you've got a quiet week at home or something, you can bump it up, you can do a bit more. If you've got a meeting or, you know, you're going on holiday or something, you can knock it back. So you can kind of manage the detox if you're doing supplements on a kind of daily, weekly, monthly basis. But yeah, I had a really bad reaction to intravenous phosphatidylcholine. I nearly considered going to accident and emergency or whatever you call it, because it was so bad, and that was the last place in the world I wanted to be, and I knew they'd just give me steroids or antibiotics or something, and I didn't want either of those.
Counterbalancing everything the detox was doing for you, you know?
Exactly. But anyway, there was a lot of ice being strapped to my hands and lots of bandaging going on, and things like that. Was pretty horrendous. And actually, that happened at the beginning of this year, and I ended up having to set aside 2 hours a day of bandaging, because I had really, and that rash has actually just subsided now a year later. So a year from when I started treatment. So if you do any of these, just beware that, you know, they have a slightly delayed effect, and just take it easy. And I would start out gently and then build up and make sure you can, you know, cope with it before you really try and hurry it along. I mean, I can understand people's frustration, and they don't want to hear it's going to take years, but, you know, that the rule is really a year for every decade of original detoxification, depending on your age. So,
yeah, people don't want to hear that, I'm sure.
No,
they don't. But honestly, if you rush it, you will suffer the consequences. Your body will very clearly let you know. And some of the more unwelcome symptoms are, you know, insomnia, which will wear you down faster than anything else, I think. Yeah. If you're just not sleeping night after night, you know, you're getting no rest, you know, your body's not restoring. And yeah, you know, diarrhea, rashes, all the rest of it are kind of cold and flu-like symptoms. I mean, it's really not fun, but if the alternative was dying, dying or being chronically sick, it's you know, a viable alternative.
Well, as crazy as your whole journey is, I mean, I know you know this from people, you know, like myself and other, just probably hundreds and thousands of testimonies, but your journey has not been wasted at all because of how much I loved in the beginning of the book how you said you had to write this book because it was the book that you wanted to read that no one had written. And I thought, wow, you just spoke to me. And I thought that's exactly what this book is. And it's just so, I just cannot wait. I can't wait to read it and then read it again and start to implement the protocols because you have done so much good to the world by sharing your story. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, thanks, Kate. I did the rounds of all the, you know, I did the rounds of homeopaths and naturopaths and chiropractors and osteopaths, and sooner or later they all started out confident they were going to sort me out, and then, you know, several hundred thousands of pounds or whatever later, they start blaming you for their therapy not working.
Right, right, sure.
And, I really had done the rounds and realized I had to take matters into my own hand. And I wish I could just say to people, go and find a good, naturopath or whatever who's familiar with all of this. But, some of them just really aren't. It's a rare person who's really got a handle on all of this. So you need to pick your way through the options. But I also do think if you start putting feelers out and things, you will find the people you need to. It's just the way the universe works. So
yes.
You will find the dentist, you will find the naturopath or whatever, or somebody to help guide you.
Well, Justin was just saying to me last week, we were taking a walk, and he said, this is before I even started your book, just a week and a half ago, and he said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And it was the next day that I picked up your book and thought, I need to start this before we talk to you on the show. And I mean, my jaw dropped the minute I opened the page, and I thought, isn't that true? Isn't that the way the universe and God works? It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for some reason, it wasn't supposed to happen before now. So
I completely agree. It was wonderful.
So, Allison, in your book, I just want to let people know, you talk about a lot of things in there that are sort of subtle things, and if I were to relate them to how our body works, like subconscious kind of ideas, where you talk about like energy and past childhood trauma, things that the average person wouldn't think would be connected, right, at all to their health, right?
Well, yeah, childhood trauma is a really big one for reasons I've already explained, but the issue is that below the age of 7, you are in what's called a hypnagogic state. You're still downloading information about how the world works, uncritically, no filters. And a lot of trauma that happens at that very young age, you won't remember. Even little things like, your mother being late to pick you up from school. I mean, that's not something you're going to remember when you're 35, if it happened once. But if you were 4 and all your other little friends had gone and everything, I mean, you probably experienced, terror, panic, heartbreak, grief, everything all in the space of 5 minutes, Yeah. So below the age of 7, the rule is that you may not remember it. I mean, if it's the divorce of parents or something like that, then obviously you will. If it's a bit later on in life, in adolescence or whatever, then the chances are you do remember, and it probably haunts you. It probably is in your dreams. It's in, it butts into your waking thoughts regularly. So you know that you were assaulted or whatever. But the ones that seem to be really damaging is the early childhood stuff, because that goes into the program of how life is. So if you were abused or something as a child, that's how life is. That's the program you're running. And not only does it make you sick, but it's quite a hard program to overcome in your lifetime and attract, different behavior.
Yeah, it's just so fascinating how it all works together. Everything emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally. Everything is, things we eat, the energetics of everything. It blows my mind how connected we are to everything, and how everything is connected to itself, and how things cause disease that you would never think of. The average person would never think that my depression or my anxiety is a result of mercury. It's amazing.
Well, I do want people to understand that, because mercury it affects almost all body systems, depending upon your nutrition, your heredity, all of that sort of thing, the stress you're under, other toxins. But it is responsible for, I think, the vast majority of chronic, serious and degenerative diseases that we're seeing in the world. And it often goes undiagnosed, because even if somebody's looking for it, even if a naturopath is testing for it, it may not appear in the urine or the blood or whatever, because it's in the central nervous system, etc. So, I mean, the horror when I realized the full magnitude of it, but I had to try and wake the world up anyway. But if you have any choice at all for your child or whatever, don't let them have amalgam fillings. And if you already have them, then, find out what you're doing first, and definitely see a biological dentist and make sure you're fully informed before going into it, because, you're playing with fire. It's a really, really powerful toxin.
Yeah, you're throwing, that's just going to make matters worse. So you have to go to a biological dentist to do this kind of stuff.
You do, and people, they don't want to spend the money, but they find money for other things, widescreen TVs and stuff like that. And, I know some people, particularly with, quotes, mysterious diseases, they end up falling through all the cracks, so the doctor says there's nothing wrong with you, you can't get benefits because they think you're shamming. And, some people really do end up in a desperate state. Their partner doesn't believe them, leaves them, people really can end up in a bad way.
And I suspect that the mercury probably also affects genetic expression, because they're trying to, doctors these days, I was just at the doctor with my dad, and they were talking about these new testings that they're going to do on people where they could actually go down to the DNA level and look at genetic expression and all this stuff. But I suspect that, genetic expression, even if you do or don't have a gene for something, the DNA, I bet you there have been studies that have been done that show that mercury affects the genetic expression too.
It definitely does. It's what's called a clastogen, which means it can clip out bits of DNA and, reorder DNA. It can cause genetic mutations. There's no question. And it does it with alarming frequency as well. So I think a lot of these so-called birth defects we're seeing are, due to toxic burden, but also, at least in part, due to malnutrition as well, because we're all pretty much malnourished if we're eating a standard issue diet.
Yeah, and then think about the mothers being malnourished, giving birth to children, especially like you said, if the second child is coming really quickly after the first one, the mother hasn't had time yet to really
rebuild.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, they in these native communities, they planned the pregnancy and they built up to it, then got married, and then apparently they wouldn't have sex, or they would live separately until they were ready to conceive again. I'm not sure how that would go down, but
No, but these are the people that Weston Price studied, right? I mean, these are the people that are showing robust health and strong teeth and incredible levels of health.
Yeah, just a century ago, before the standard issue diet arrived, and that book for me was a real life changer, because I realized that we were perfect. We were put in a perfect environment. We were given all our needs in our natural environment.
Yeah,
it's not that we were a mistake on a lonely planet and all the rest of it. None of that's true. In our natural environment, we are perfect. We have fallen from that pristine state with everything we've done, really, in the developed world.
Well, I love your work, and Kate has just been going on and on and on every day. She was so excited.
I take it with me everywhere. Yesterday I took it with me when I had to wait in line. I took it to get my car looked at. I just took it everywhere, and I'm like devouring it. I very rarely, honestly, I feel very little this way about few books. So this this is huge.
Too, it's not just that you like the book, but it's the fact that you've been exposed to so much information and nothing has really made sense to you, because you have your own health issues you're working on right now. And as you're reading this book every day, you're telling me, "Oh my gosh, no wonder why I have this problem. I've never been able to figure out until now."
It's aha moment after aha moment, and it's filled with so much hope. Because.
Oh, good.
I think, Alice, in your book, at the beginning even, you speak about how prevention, obviously, and we talk to people all day long as well about how prevention is the key, but since a lot of us didn't know at the time, we have now these things to deal with, but there's always hope. And so those two things together, I mean, if we can have hope for ourselves and then try to help prevent our future generations and teach them right, we have a lot of really hopeful situations going on, I think.
Well, I just hope we look back and think, what on earth were we thinking? And sooner rather than later. And it frustrates me enormously that dentists and doctors still don't get it.
Yeah.
But they don't. And I'm doing my best to try and inform, but it's a battle because of the programming.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that. It's funny because a lot of people these days, they'll say, "Oh, we have to protect the planet and we have to make sure that future generations, blah, 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 they're going to have a nice, healthy planet." And I agree completely with them. And in the idea that the planet is given to us as a gift, as a place to live so that we can live our lives. But in the same way, people don't see, there's not going to be generations if we don't take care of our DNA. Our DNA is given to us as a gift. And are you going to pass on weaker DNA or stronger DNA? And people don't think of the DNA as a gift like they would the planet, you know?
Well, I think I originally approached you when the Minamata Treaty was being signed in October of last year. And this is a World Health Organization initiative. They've now got 102 countries are signed up to it. And this is to control mercury emissions and, you know, transport across borders and all the rest of it. But unfortunately, the dental industry lobbied really hard for dentistry to be excluded, believe it or not. This is all being done on environmental grounds, but, you know, and it's our best hope, really. But they're calling for a phase down of the use of amalgam. But still, there's no recognition of the damage it does to humans. There's still no protection for humans. It's all about the environment.
I know, right? What good is the environment if humans don't
aren't
have
around
to live there?
Well, exactly. I mean, we should be the caretakers. We're part of the environment too. But no. So anyway, we can but hope. But I think, unfortunately, the only thing that's going to bring a change is compulsion. You know, laws at the very highest level that force everybody into line, because the American Dental Association or whatever is not going to change.
It's a delicate dance because they can't go back and admit all this stuff, because they would then have lawsuits. They'd have to have some sort of retroactive grandfather sort of law that's put in place to protect them from lawsuits and millions of dollars and
well, that's what they're worried about, because this would be, you know, this would knock smoking or asbestosis or whatever into a cocked hat, because it's affected everybody in the developed world. So we are where we are, you know, and all you can do is try and inform people on a one-to-one basis and get them to, you know, sort the issue out and to inform others. And also just to raise questions, really, with dentists and things, because they're all parroting answers they've been taught, but, you know, they're not valid, most of their responses.
Yeah.
And I know that now.
Yeah, when you ask the questions to a dentist, you're the one with the power, you know, and I think that, you know, they have to answer your questions. And if you just keep asking them things that hopefully might open their mind, perhaps they'll start to think, you know, do a little research.
Yeah, rattle their cages a little.
Yeah, I love it. I love your approach, too. I think this is something that people can take away from your approach of just going full bore in your own recovery. It's almost like, we don't like to talk about fighting for our health, but if I had to use a term, it would be that, knowing that you deserve to live and you're going to do everything in your power to fight. Because like you said, you had people that you went to school with that have died of cancer. You know?
Yes, and lovely, vivacious people as well. They were too. And, you know, I was very affected that they had died. Interestingly enough, they both lived in the same house as students. So then you start to wonder, you know, was there lead piping, you know, water piping, or was there some other factor that they were exposed to that the two should have died together? But
it's all connected. Yes.
Oh, you asked me earlier where metals come from. They're everywhere is the answer. Yeah. It depends on the particular metal, but you know, packaging, water piping, everything.
Yeah. Fascinating. Are you going to be writing any other books? Do you have any other plans? What kinds of things do you have coming up?
Well, Justin, I've been trying to clear my schedule. I want to write a series because I have another website called Mouth Body Doctor, which kind of focuses in on the dental side of things. And my intention is to write a series of Mouth Body Doctor guides to various subjects for, you know, people. And the first one is going to be about cavitations and extractions. And because I'm going through it all at the moment, I've got, you know, I've kind of researched it all and I'm putting it all into place myself.
Oh, wow.
So that's one thing. And then I have a couple of presentations that I do, and I want to get those up online so that people can watch them online. They will be paid, but, you know, be a nominal, you know, modest sum. Because I think also a lot of dentists they're afraid to go public with this. They don't understand. They don't know the information. And this is one way they could kind of get it in the privacy of their own office or whatever, and at least start to understand some of the issues involved. So that's the plan. Just keep the two websites going, finish all my dental work. And I've also been doing a lot of cleansing and fasting and all that sort of thing. And I've lost a lot of weight that I put on through the Mercury poisoning and through the accident, which laid me up for a while. So just I've got to get into top form, and then hopefully I can go out and spread the word. Because I've been well enough, but it's just a little unpredictable, and I've got to get predictably well enough to do this kind of work. So that's been the goal.
Wow, awesome stuff. Thank you so much for being on. Yeah, and just writing your book, and I just appreciate you so much.
Oh, well, I'm feeling the love.
I hope so. We love you.
Yeah, your book is
so
just an eye-opener for us. It's just awesome.
Well, I'm very glad that you asked me on, and I'm happy to come back again if you want to discuss some more subjects. So,
I would love
you know what? Next time, if we do it again, which I would love to do, we'll have a better working audio system, perhaps, and we can actually
no crickets in the background.
No crickets in the background.
Who knows?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Allison. Hold on the line there. I'm going to close out the live show for our listeners, and I just want to thank everybody for being in the chat room. If you guys don't know, we do broadcast live 4 days a week on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific. If you guys would like to join the live show, there's a chat room there. You can interact with other listeners and really get your questions answered. A lot of fun in the chat room, so make sure to check that out. And I just want to say I appreciate everyone for being on and listening and being a part of what we do. We really appreciate it so much. If you guys are interested, we will be posting this show later today, hopefully maybe tomorrow. And if you would want to share the link with your friends, anybody that you know that is affected by mercury or by...
Well, and who isn't, apparently.
I know, right?
Just in different ways, in different forms. We all have stuff to deal with.
Yeah, we all have stuff. So I want to thank everyone for being in the live show. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific. And
we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Love ya.
Yes.
Allison, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay,
that was really great.
In touch. I'll send you an email either today or tomorrow.
With a link.
Yeah.
All right. That's great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Allison.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, we just got off the air with Dr. Alison Adams. We actually talked to her for probably about, what do you say, a half hour?
Maybe 40 minutes, half hour?
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
She's
an incredible lady.
She's an incredible lady. I feel like she's my friend. I bet it's how people feel when they listen to us, or when I listen to people online or read blogs, or you just feel this connection with them, like they're your friend now.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like she's that to me. She's my friend, and I really, really, truly believe that she's in my life for a reason. And like I was saying, we were walking the other day or sitting at the beach or something. We were on the way to the beach or at the beach, and you said to me, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah.
And it was that next day that I knew I needed to get cracking reading this book, so I'd have a little bit of an idea about what Alison Adams was all about, because I knew I liked her right away, but I didn't know the entirety of her work.
And her story, too.
And her story.
How she got to where she is.
She is just preaching to me. I mean, I mean, you've seen it. I just have these moments where I'm like, look at this. The pancreas is connected to the
sulfur, the thiols.
What the heck? The liver does have something to do with your teeth, with my lockjaw, with my TMJ. It's like, it's all connecting.
And this is the first time, like I said during the show, that you're finally starting to piece together some what I want to say, like self-diagnosis, kind of like what Lissa Rankin talks about.
Yeah.
But it's the whole idea of being a detective for your health, and
you are your own doctor with your own prescription.
Yeah, like, what's his name? What was his name? Dr. Andrew Saul, dryourself.com. It's the whole idea of not letting other people tell you what they think you should do. I mean, this is all, no one knows your body better than you do.
And you don't even know your body. Your body knows your body. That's the thing with muscle testing.
Yeah.
And things that we're not conscious of. Your body knows.
Yeah, it knows, doesn't it?
It knows.
It's so weird. We're talking the other day. I mean, you were talking about thiols and how thiols relate to...
When you're an undermethylator, you're eating foods that are high in thiol content, which basically can go bad when you're mercury toxic and cause you to undermethylate. It causes your kidneys and adrenals to be sluggish or non-functioning.
And how does the thiols relate to the sulfur again? Because you don't methylate, so you don't...
I can't eat
sulfur.
Yeah, sulfur food. So basically, when you eat thiols, they might not be high in sulfur, but they become that way when they hit the mercury in your body.
So it
has a reaction.
And then your body creates sulfur, and then your body, since it's so high in mercury, can't deal with the sulfur.
From what I have understood, yes. Or what I've read, yes. That's how I understand it.
Good googly moogly. Sweet sassy plastic.
What's the googly moogly? I've never heard that.
It's crazy, you know, like all this interconnectedness.
But I'm so grateful. Like I feel like I'm just living in this constant state of gratitude the last week and a half, more than I ever have. I just feel like I'm not crazy. Like I was telling Allison off the air, unfortunately in my hairdressing practice, 15 years of relationships with people, you think that they love you, they care about you, and that might be true to some extent, but when it gets tough, when I'm having a bad day or I'm, doing someone's hair and all of a sudden my pancreas will just like seize and I have to go, I've had times where I've had to go lay in the back room of the salon on a massage table and just catch my breath and pray and put my hands on my stomach and just, I didn't know what the heck was going on. People don't care. Like, they just want their hair done. They're upset if you have to cancel. And then when I went down to 1 day a week working Saturdays only, people just dropped like flies. And you're like, wow, I'm giving my life and my health for these people. And they don't care in the way that you ever will for your own body or your own mental state or protecting your space. And it just has placed a really big,
it's been an eye-opener, hasn't it?
It's been eye-opening, and I place a bigger value on guarding myself even more. I thought I was, but I haven't been protecting myself in the way that I should from people's negative energies and suckage of just these energy vampires. And that only makes, you have parasites and you have fibroids and you have hormone imbalances, adrenal, low adrenals, kidney you have all these things, and then to have people just not really care about you on that level, it's a really hard journey to go through.
Imagine if your inability to methylate, which affects your hormones, your adrenals, it affects all these things, the inability to methylate. Imagine if some of that is correlated or related to or caused by the energetic disturbances that are brought on by these people dumping their dramas on you and not being understanding of you and just being selfish and talking about themselves. All this stuff and this negative energy, what if that lowers your ability to methylate and then boom, a cascade of problems happen and you have no idea.
Yeah.
You just have no idea what's going on. It could be your hormones go off and then because you can't methylate and then your adrenals don't fire and then you're up all night and then you can't you lower cortisol because you can't sleep, you're not making hormones, and your body's not repairing. It's just like this cascade effect.
It's like being thrown into a giant warehouse, industrial size, with the blindfold on in the dark, and then saying, okay, go find the switch.
Yeah.
You've never been in this place. You don't know what the heck is in there.
You don't know where you are.
Yeah, you don't know if you're ever going to find it. All these things being thrown at you, confusion. Just, you feel like you're in utter darkness,
But this book has been huge. It's like...
And I'm not just saying that. I'm not trying, I don't like to, not pimp somebody's products or books or whatever, but we really only try to encourage people to read and purchase things that we highly believe in. And this is one of those books that if you guys are suffering from any kind of chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, she also just talks in the beginning of the book. Yeah, I mean, these unknown Mercury diseases and problems that come out of this. I mean, she even says if you don't have any of these, quote, diseases or illnesses, just reading this book and approaching your health in the way that you wouldn't have normally. It's just you can take it into every area of your life. And it's like I can't get enough.
It's
super highly recommend this book.
Like I mentioned on the show, I think that people fail to realize just how important our DNA is as a gift from God, whatever your religious background is. Our DNA has been given to us, and it's very important to pass on a better version of itself. So, like people talk about cells replicating and the telomeres being cut off, and when the cell replicates, it makes a slightly lesser copy of itself. It's like a Xerox copy, and all of a sudden, if you make copies of copies of copies of copies, 50 copies down the line, that's going to look, that text on that page is going to look horrible.
Yeah.
In the same way, what are we doing to pass on these genes? We're saving the planet. We're doing all these things for other people, all this stuff, but we're not treating our DNA like a gift. Mm-hmm. And, are we going to just pass on just a completely ravaged body, and ravaged genes and hormones and just stress and all this stuff, parasites? You know what I mean? Like, what are we passing on? What kind of future generations are we going to create? Now, you've been given this gift of the DNA as a gift, and what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. And how intentional are people going? I mean, I talked to Allison a lot. She was so gracious to talk to me a lot off the air about, what do you do when you want to help the next generation that hopefully you're blessed enough to be able to pass through you and bring up? Mm-hmm. What do you do to prepare yourself so you feel a little bit more up to standard as far as where our health should be going into such a thing like a pregnancy? Or because you and I probably would have had kids in the last few years had I not been feeling so ill.
Right.
And at what point do you know you're kind of ready? But I mean, I think any intention is better than none going into making your body as good as it can be and dealing with your emotions, because that stuff is going to come back tenfold. Mm-hmm. Probably when you're pregnant and emotional and hormonal and you're, trying to deal with that, and then the baby's taking that on. It's just, I think people, if we are going to have a generation and generations beyond them come up under a better way of living, I mean, these things really need to be addressed, and
they do.
People need to take their money seriously, where they spend their money with their health. I mean,
right.
Yeah, I mean, what good is a new bed frame gonna do you, or a new rebuilt kitchen, if you don't have your health? You have nothing.
Or what good is a healthy planet and a green planet going to be like if the generation that comes after us is sicker than we are?
Exactly.
They're not going to be in the forest running around because they're going to be in hospital beds.
Right. Right. No, it's true.
It's true.
Very few people are going to be vibrantly living in the world, and that scares the heck out of me.
Do to recycle and all this stuff for the green planet, which is great. I'm not saying don't do that, but if you're doing that and you're drinking beer and drinking Pepsi and you're drinking all this stuff and you're slowly killing yourself, I mean, you're recycling. That's good, but the types of genes that you're going to pass on. I believe that everything we're exposed to, whether we watch it, read it, hang out with someone says it around us, I think all of that is could possibly be translated to the next generation. That's just my personal belief. I just think that everything is energy. Energy, it never goes away. It's always constant. I just think everything that we're exposed to, we've talked about the studies with the mice and things like that. How they're exposed to certain things, and then the next generation of mice, when they're exposed to the same, it was like the citrus smell. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And when they're exposed to it, they have this panic attack, and they've never were exposed to the shocks of their fathers or the worm going through the maze. We talked about how they taught a worm how to go through a maze, and they ground that worm up and fed that worm to another worm who previously was unable to get through the maze. And when that second worm ate the first worm, which is kind of a weird study, but when that second worm ate the first worm, that second worm was able to get through the maze. Somehow the ability to do that was translated from one generation to another, and that's just like a neurons firing in the brain. How'd that get transferred? Weird stuff.
That is crazy. We don't know anything.
So we don't. Mm-mm. So what are we passing on to the next generation? How are we taking care of ourselves?
Well, right now it's not looking so good. So Allison's right. If we can wake up and really, it's going to take a lot of intentional living, though, and a bunch of folks to be able to turn this thing around. I love in her book too how she addressed. It's so funny when you have your mind open to, well, of course that makes sense. She talks about the study with rats that they do so often with the pharmaceutical companies.
Right.
And she just talks about, basically breaks it down to we are not rats. Why would you think that anything tested on a rat is okay for a human? We're not rats by any stretch of the means. She said we're closer to monkeys, an ape family.
Right.
But why rats? Why do we even think that's a good study to even base something off of? It's asinine. It's crazy.
Right.
It's so basically funny. Saying we gave a little bit of an antibiotic to a cricket and they're fine. So, you human beings are all good to ingest 29 times this amount of stuff that we gave a cricket because the cricket was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that stupid when you start thinking about it. Everything seems so backward and upside down and just crazy town.
It does.
It's crazy.
It makes you think that you're going crazy. Then you realize, oh, wow, there's people like Justin Caters. There's other people out there in the world doing stuff like this. And you realize you're part of a small community. You're part of a small amount of people around the world that have woken up.
Yeah.
And you haven't taken the blue pill and, but you realize you're in the Matrix.
You do realize you're in the Matrix.
It's a weird thing.
Ooh. Well, I'm just so grateful my eyes have been open to what has come my way, and I really do think God is sending me exactly what I need at the right time, no sooner, no later, and it's just an awesome thing.
That's awesome.
I'm so stoked we had her on the show.
Yes, me too. And this was episode 302.
You got it.
And we'll post this later today, hopefully. And if you guys are interested in checking that out, we put all the links. Kate was able to take notes, so there's a ton of links in this page too. Also, if you want to sign up to our newsletter, that's always free. We send out a weekly recap of all the shows that we do, as well as giving you a free ebook that sells for $20 on Amazon. Lessons from the Miracle Doctors, an amazing book. It's like I said, it sells for $20, written by John Barron, but we send it for free. And also, I want to tell you guys too, also about our free forum. If you guys are interested in making friends in the natural health community, in a really fun environment that's away from Facebook, you can sign up to our forum. It's 100% free. That's exclusive to only the Extreme Health Radio listeners. And there's a ton of people in there, hundreds of people in there already. And people have met each other. People have stayed in each other's homes. And it's just an amazing thing, the friends that have been made through our forum. So that's free to sign up if you guys want to do that. And you can.
And who doesn't love free?
I know, right? Nothing wrong with that. Anything else I want to let you guys know? Oh, don't forget to visit our sponsors. We have a sponsorship page right on our website. Today's episode sponsored by Live On Labs, which is the lipospheric vitamin C super high dose. You can take 1,000 milligrams of that, and it doesn't upset your stomach at all or your digestion.
How much is in that one packet that we take every day?
There's 30 packets so there's 30,000 milligrams.
So each packet is 1,000, so that's what we're getting, right?
Which is awesome, because after we spoke with Dr. Andrew Saul, talking about high-dose vitamin therapy, you can take 5 of those or something like that. You would do 5,000 milligrams. At least I've done that. And you don't feel upset stomach.
You took 5 one time?
Yeah, and back a year ago when I was sick, remember when we went to the Dominican Republic, I was taking just a standard.
It wasn't the lipospheric. It wasn't Live On Labs, was it?
No, I could not handle the vitamin C.
You got really... that made you feel horrible.
Oh, I couldn't handle it. It gave me diarrhea, upset my stomach. It was horrible, bloated me. But this stuff is just amazing. And also the S&C products, too, are just incredible. I just can't talk enough about those. We interviewed Dr. Kusan. I think it was episode 48 with Dr. Ron Kusan. And he's doing a lot of really amazing work with bringing nutrients out of the sea, minerals, and developing some cutting-edge products. So I would highly suggest checking that out. That's extremehealthradio.com/SEA. And lipospheric is extremehealthradio.com/vitamin C. And you can check those out. And those are really great companies that we have actually reached out to be sponsors because we believe in their products so much. So they didn't approach us, we approached them because we love what they're doing. So visit them and purchase from them, and that helps keep the show free. That support is just amazing. So just want to let you guys know about that.
And if you could also possibly take a little bit of time and write us a review on iTunes. We would so appreciate that. We're so thankful for all the kind words from you guys. Mm-hmm. It's made us feel really good, and we feel like getting that response makes us keep going with what we do, because we really do believe this is what we're supposed to be doing, but it definitely helps encourage us and keep us going and let other people know about, the hope that's out there, and
yes, definitely.
Hopefully spread the word.
Yeah, definitely. The iTunes thing seems to be helping a lot, so thank you so much for that. All right, time to wrap this up. This has almost been 2 hours, Kate.
Okay.
Actually, look at that. 2 hours, 10 minutes. All right, this is
I got to stretch.
I know. Time to eat. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us.
We will I'm mid-stretch and yawn. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Hey, everybody, this is Josie, Justin's mum. Don't tell him, but I know he would absolutely be really happy if you would sign up to his free weekly newsletter. And don't forget to share this with all your friends. This is the buzzing bumblebee signing off.
Why we go along with this?
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for listening to this episode.
It's time to go for now, but our mission does not end with this show.
Justin and Kate will be back with another interview packed full of ideas, discoveries, and unique ways to regain your health.
Head on over to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe and instantly download our free gift too that contains cutting-edge strategies to start making healthy lifestyle changes today.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any